Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and to my series Cravings, where I share easy recipes that you can recreate at home should you wish to have something sweet during the day, because I know I need them right now. In this episode, I'm showing you how to make Viennese Whirls. So these biscuits are probably one of my favorite to eat, and it's the reason why in general I don't actually make them that much, because I don't want to eat too many of them, but they are seriously melt in the mouth deliciousness. My sister and I absolutely love these biscuits, so much so that for her birthday one year I actually made a giant version using the exact same recipe. And the best part is that you can make them small or large, and of course batch bake them. The recipe for this is in the description box. Easy to multiply by 2 or 3 should you want to make more, but I'm gonna get straight into the recipe to show you how to make my small ones. So in my mixer bowl, I've got my butter. This is room temperature butter that's been out for a couple of hours, so it's nice and soft, but we wanna make it even softer. So I'm gonna turn on the mixer to beat it on high speed for a couple of minutes. We're going to be piping this dough, so we really need this butter as soft as possible. So I like scraping the bowl down just in case there's any harder bits of butter at the bottom that weren't touched by the beater. And now I'm going to mix it for another minute on a high speed. So the butter is getting really nice and soft now. I'm just going to scrape the bowl down again, and then I'm going to add my powdered sugar and mix that together for another minute. I'm starting on a slow speed because I don't want the sugar to spill out the bowl. Once I can't see it anymore, I'll turn the speed up. So you can see that the butter has got much lighter in color, super fluffy and creamy. So now I can go in with my other dry ingredient. So I'm just going to scrape the bowl down one last time. And then I'm going to use a sieve to add in my plain flour and my corn flour. And I'm just going to use a glass to push through the flours to avoid any spillage. And that will get rid of any lumps because we want this dough to be as smooth as possible. And lastly, I'm just going to put in about half a teaspoon of vanilla paste. And mix it one last time for it to all come together. Turn it off, and that looks like a perfect dough ready to pipe. So now I'm just going to clean off all the dough from the beater as much as possible because we want to make as many biscuits as possible. And just give the bowl one last mix by hand just to ensure that everything has been incorporated. So now I can put this in the piping bag. So I've got a large piping bag here with a large open star tip. This is a 1M. I really like how this tip pipes the cookies, so this is my favorite one to use. And I'm going to use the glass to help me fill the piping bag, placing it in like this and folding the sides down. And it's important to have quite a thick piping bag because the dough is much thicker than buttercream is. So now I can place the dough into the bag. This recipe is really easy to multiply as well, so if you did want to make more cookies, you just times the recipe by 2 or 3. However, it does become a little bit harder to pipe if you have more mixture in your piping bag, so just bear that in mind. Right, so now I can lift up the piping bag and squeeze the dough all the way down to the end. So what I have here is a baking tray with a silicone mat. You can do this on regular baking paper. Why I like the silicone mat is because I have the circles, which you usually use for macarons, But this helps me keep the biscuits nice and consistent in size, and because we're going to pair them up after, it's a lot easier. So I'm going to use the black circle as my guide, and I'm going to pipe rosettes. Now, as I mentioned, the dough is a lot thicker than buttercream, so I like putting my hand further down the piping bag because I find it easier to pipe, because it does require a little bit more pressure. So I'm going to push, come around, and off again. Now I know I said I'd use the black as a guide, but by the time I've piped, it does get a little bit bigger, but as long as they're the same size, it's okay. And repeat until all the dough has been piped. So I had some extra dough to pipe out, so I've just done it on another tray with some baking paper. I obviously didn't have the guide, so I hope they're as equal as possible. Now, before baking, these actually have to go in the freezer. Because obviously they're going to go in a hot oven, they tend to spread quite a lot. So putting them in the freezer will help maintain this lovely piped shape. So I'm going to put them in the freezer for 15 minutes and then preheat my oven while they're in the freezer, and then I can bake them for 8 to 10 minutes, quite a short time, at 190 degrees until I can see some golden brown outlines. So once the biscuits were baked, I leave them to cool completely, and what I've done is match them up into pairs. Now you can see that they do spread a lot. You can kind of make out the star shapes, and I'll tell you the truth, when I lived in England, they actually maintained their shapes a lot more, so I'm not sure if it's just the different ingredients. However, I did taste them and they still melt in the mouth, unbelievably delicious, and obviously when you sandwich them together, they'll be nice and full. So what I have here is a bag of my American vanilla buttercream, which I'm going to fill with, along with some strawberry jam. So to help me fill, I'm going to turn each cookie upside down, and they're quite fragile. You can see some of the crumbs falling off. That is what makes these cookies so soft to eat. I'm going to start with the buttercream. Now, as tempting as it is to put a load in there, we don't want them too sweet. So I'm going to pipe just a little blob, about 2/3 of the way like this. And then the same with the jam. And because the jam is the looser filling, you really don't need a lot here. Otherwise the biscuits will just fall apart. And now the fun bit, to sandwich them together. You want to squash them until the filling reaches the outside, like this. Don't they look adorable? So here they are in all their glory. Now, I don't know if it's because living in Israel and I'm using different ingredients that I was in England, but they do flatten out a lot more here. So if you try them out, let me know how they are for you. You still get the beautiful swirl pattern anyway. It's just I remember them being a little bit more defined. Either way, I've tasted one just before and they're still delicious, but I didn't taste it with the filling, so I'm gonna have to do that now. Wow. Oh, it's just everything you want in a bite. Sweetness, and the jam just makes it a little bit tarty. Unbelievable. I can eat 100 of these. So it's lucky that I'm going to a friend's tonight because I'm gonna give them to her. But they certainly satisfy my craving. You have to try these out and don't forget to tag me if you do. Don't forget the recipe is below in the description box, and we'll see you next time for more recipes.